So today we're going to go over the concept of layouts. And layouts are a very cool and very unique feature that are going to allow you to create components that are shared across many pages. They're going to allow you to set styling that will affect all the pages that are inside of the layout. And they also can just act as simple folders that help you organize all the pages in your site if it starts to get really big. You can also create templates out of layouts, so that if you start to create lots of sites that share the same pages, you can put those pages in a layout and you can share them across many other projects. So without further ado, let's dive in and let's check out layouts. So the very first thing to know is that you have this site layout that you cannot delete. And this layout actually represents the body tag on your site. So if you style this layout, you are essentially styling your body tag. You can also set the language here, which defaults to English. And you can set a color scheme, which defaults to system. And we'll go over that in a minute because it's a way that you can set up dark mode and light mode on your site as well. So let's go ahead and in our layout, let's insert a navbar. And this is an important thing to note about layouts is they have a concept called the page slot. The page slot are where the pages inside of your layout are going to render. So I'm going to drop this navbar above the page slot. And whenever we do, you're going to see that the navbar shows up top, and then we have our page, which has no content yet. And we're going to now insert a footer below. So we'll go to our sections, we'll go to our footers. This looks like a good basic footer. We'll stick that below the page. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to click on our page and let's insert a section onto our page. So let's go with a nice hero. I like this balanced hero. We'll just insert it right here. And you'll notice that the hero showed up between the navbar and the footer. Now, what's really also pretty neat about layouts is if you want to get to your layout, you can just click here. And now you're on your layout. And if you want to get back to the page that you were on, you can just click here. And now you're back on your page. So that makes working with layouts very easy. Now we'll come here and we'll just say, this is my home page. And we'll just leave all the rest of this, that's fine. But let's go ahead and insert another page into this layout. And I don't know, we'll make this like an about page. So we'll say about, and we'll change this to about. And probably need to go ahead and put like a hero or something here. We'll go ahead and put a header here on this page, and we'll just say about. All right, so now we have a home page. And we have an about page, and you can see that the header and the footer are shared. So I can choose to work on the layout from either page. So we can put like home, and we can come here and click about. And now if we go to the home page or the about page, you can see how easy it is to just go between working on your layout and going and working on your pages. So let's go look at that, how we can create styles that cascade down. So we're going to click on our site layout. And we're going to come down to background. And let's just say that we have a site that's inverted. Let's go invert everything. Let's go set the background to black. And let's go set the text to white. And just like that, everything's now inverted. And that's going to happen everywhere because the site layout is special. It represents the root of your site. No other layout will act quite like that. In fact, if we go now to, say, boards, you're going to notice that even inverted the colors here. It inverts all the colors. If you were to have component spaces, it inverts them here. So this site layout really is the root of everything. It's special. It's nice. It's a really easy way to go set up all of those default styles. It would be the equivalent of if you were writing code and you just put CSS styles on your body tag. That's what this one represents. Now you can have nested layouts. So we can go create another layout. And let's act like this layout's going to be for our blog. And in our blog, we would probably have a blog index that just shows all of your blog articles. And you would probably also have a, let's say, an article, blog article. And we're not going to get deep into how to create dynamic slugs and how to connect data. We'll do that in another video. This is just make believe here. So we'll call this blog article just to show you how you could create like a sidebar that would be shared by both pages. All right, and on our blog, we'll create a heading and we'll just say blog. And on our article, we'll create one that says article. And I probably should have put these in a container because that looks ugly. So we'll hit Shift, we'll wrap that, and we'll put a class of container on it. Yeah, it's a little better. We'll do the same here. All right, much better. Okay, so here we have our blog and we have our article. And what we want is a sidebar over here that gets shared by these two, but aren't on our homepage or over here. And so this is cool because those last items are shared by this layout. And now we have an inner layout where we can create that sidebar. So that would need to be a column. So we'll insert a column, and we do want it after our page because our page is where this here is. But we'll take these two elements and we will wrap them in a row. And we will set the row to do space, justify content, space between. And in here, we will just insert a few texts. And I am noticing that we probably want to go ahead and stick a container here to keep it from going edge to edge. So that's pretty easy to do. And there we have it. Here's our blog, here's our article, and these two have a shared sidebar component, whereas our home page and our about page do not. So nesting layouts is actually a really cool way to share components across pages that need shared components like blogs and things like that. And you can have layouts inside of layouts. And layouts also have this benefit to where they don't reload. So when you click between these pages, the header and the footer will stay rendered on the screen. Only the inside of the page will actually reload. This has a massive performance benefit as it's sending less data across the wire and it's increasing the overall performance of your site. So it's not just an aesthetic thing. It's not just a thing to help you do less layout and to share components. It's actually a performance thing. It actually increases the performance of your overall site. One more thing to note, layouts don't contribute to your path. So you can see here we have a layout and here's our home page, it just slash. And here we have our blog and article layout, and here they are, and it doesn't increase the path. It's just there for the shared layout concept. If we wanted this to be blog, we want this to be /blog/article, we would just do that. So we give you the freedom. We're not going to sit here and enforce that things that share a layout have to even share the same URL. So the layouts are just acting as a folder, and they act as a way to share components, and they act as a way to cascade styles, but they do not actually contribute to the path. Now, I told you there's one more cool thing that you could do, which is the fact you can actually distribute a layout as a template. So maybe I've set this layout up, I've set up this index, blog index, and I set up this blog article, and I've got all my data in here, and I've got all of my sidebars and things in here, and I'm thinking this is looking really good. I can right click and I can add to library this whole entire layout. Now, I could publish this whole project as a library. Now, once I have that installed, I could click insert and I can go to layouts. And here it is, the whole entire blog, which includes the blog and the article as a layout. And if I drag this into the site, you're going to see that I actually end up with a whole nother copy of it. So you can actually take layouts and add them to your library. You can do the same thing with pages, but that's not what we're talking about today. But that's layouts. They're also cool beyond using them as folders and organization, beyond using them to share styles, beyond using them to share common components and to increase the performance of those common components to keep them from reloading. You can actually also use them as a way to distribute templates. And so this is a way that you can add a whole piece of a site with its data connected, with its URL structure. In this case, we would have had URLs that knocked into each other, so it actually added a 2 onto them, but it even preserved the whole URL structure, making it an awesome way if you're an agency creating tons of sites. You can create these layouts, add them to a library, distribute that library, and then you have whole features of a site that you can just one-click add to a new site. And when it goes into the new site, it'll take on that new site's styling. All right. One last thing. We're going to be like Steve Jobs today. One more thing. You can set dark and light mode, and you can also use layouts to determine what color scheme that they're going to be in. You can do this on pages as well, but we're going to show you today how to do that on layouts. So what I'm going to do now is instead of setting on the layout the color white, I'm going to come in and I'm going to create a new token. And this new token, we're just going to call this color of text. This is our text color. Some people call that foreground. And in here, we'll create a new one and we'll call this background. So we have a text color and a background color, or you can create a foreground and a background color. I don't care. So now we have tokens. Let's go into our token management really quick. And let's go ahead and set dark to be the opposite. Actually, when dark, we want the color to be white. And we want the background to be black. And when light, we want the text color to be black, and we want this one to be white. So we want it inverted, okay? Now, watch this. Dark mode, light mode, dark mode, light mode. It just works out of the box. So that's how you do it. You go in, you create tokens, you set a light and a dark, and that enables this. Now, how does that deal with layouts? For one, because you set all this on the layout, and that layout cascaded and set your whole site that way. So that's part of how layouts are tied into this. But another thing you can do is you can use layouts to set the color scheme. So maybe you want part of your site dark, part of it light, that kind of thing. Right now, the color scheme of our layout is set to system, but I can force it dark, or I can force it light, or I can say, no, it's fine, use the system. Or we could actually insert a layout, insert a blank layout, and we'll call this layout the dark layout. And we'll say that any page, anything in here, it needs to render in the opposite. Now it's going to be funny because this outer layout here is still in the other one. So we're going to insert a heading 1 onto the screen. And we'll come here and we're going to set our background on this layout to be the background color. And we're going to set the typography. You'd have to do this or else you're not actually setting anything on the layout. So we're going to set this to the text color. And that doesn't look like it's had a change yet. But inside of here, we can now say we want the color scheme to be dark. And check that out. Now you've got a layout, and anything in this piece of the layout will now be in the inverse color scheme of that one. So if I, again, go to my blog or whatever, it all just cascades through and it doesn't care. But anything within this layout now has that inverted color scheme. I don't exactly know all the reasons why you'd want to do this, but it is very cool that it's possible. Probably if you were going to do this, you would stick less stuff in the site layout. You'd have dark pages and you'd have light pages and no shared parts, and then you could do it this way. So there you have it. There's layouts. There's so much that you can achieve with these layouts. We could go on and on, but I think you get the idea. Can't wait to see what all you create and all the cool and fun ways people think to use layouts. But that's going to be it for today. And so if you want more of these videos, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And we have a very active Discord. So if you have questions about this, feel free to join our Discord. There's a description in the link where you can ask more and you can ask other things that you can do and other things that you can achieve with layouts. Thanks, and see you on the next one.